He led the league in ERA both of those years, retroactively compiled. Harvard in 1874, Philadelphia Whites in 1875. They were later charged with Fisher throwing games while playing for the West Ends of Milwaukee in 1876. Chicago Tribune notes, later on, as a postscript to the career of Fisher in Milwaukee, it may be noted that someone arranged a farewell party to him and sold a considerable number of tickets, with the proceeds of which Fisher went away unostentatiously and without waiting for the party, which, by the way, never came off. The only information as to Fisher's whereabouts comes from the Philadelphia Mercury, which recommends him as one of the players of the Athletics in 1877. Fisher turns up again in 1877 for Spalding's White Stockings in 1877 at third base, and he last pitched one game for the Providence Grays in 1878. He went on to become a fireman in Chicago. He's buried there. Here's the box score of the 4-0 shutout. This is the typical lineup that Forest City used. There was a lot of jumbling in the beginning, but it turned out to be primarily this for the vast majority of the end of that season. Hastings at second, Mack at first, Addy at second, Fulberg short, Anson at third. Then the outfield was Ham, Bird, and Stiers. Rockford extended the winning streak to 3 on August 8th with a 12-5 win over Cleveland. The game being played in Chicago at Lakefront Park, decided where Millennium Park is now. The New York Clipper noted the attendance. Very few spectators being present, as the people of the Garden City seemed to be interested in ball play only when one of their pet home clubs was engaged. Rockford dropped the next one 6-5 to the Mutuals in New York, and then the Olympics in Washington 5-2, season low for runs, and 18-7, in which Gat Stiers hit his team-leading second home run and the third of 3 Rockford long balls in the season. The first game in Washington featured the usual fine defensive play of center fielder George Bird. Bird was a local product growing up on a farm in nearby Ogle County. George and his brothers formed a team called the Plowboys of Stillman Valley, where Bird is currently buried. The Plowboys were a strong team, and he was noticed by Hiram Waldo when they played Rockford. According to his Project biography, Bird was recognized as the second fastest Forest City runner, only behind Sager. He appeared in center fielder in each of the 25 games in 1871. The last regular season contest in Rockford history, at least according to the data, ends up being a 16-8 defeat in Cleveland on September 15th, bringing the final count to 4-21, though if you counted the forfeit losses where they actually won, it was more respectable 8-17. Though the Rockford Register announces in the September 30th issue that Rockford won the season series against Chicago with a 17-2 thrashing on September 26th, if the May game is declared null and void, I'll assume they're referring to the Hastings case. The June 14th date should read June 24th. Quite frankly, there are a lot of games declared official contests which show up as exhibitions as far as retro sheet is concerned. This is a code I'm still trying to crack.
Nobody's figured it out. I mean, that's the one mystery is like, because that was, for anybody who knows the history of the National Association, part of the whole dispute about who the champion was is they could never agree on what was official games or not.
Well,
I mean, it would be as if you were trying to determine the division champions, for football, and you couldn't figure out whether or not those 4 games played in August counted or not.
Well, there's a lot of. I think it has something to do with the fact that
yeah.
It wasn't done by total games; it was done by series. So I think that they take some of them and they throw some of them out. They only count X amount of the series between teams.
But both teams didn't agree. Teams after the fact it would be like if I
played you in a series, and we had a series of 5 games,
and you won 3 and I won 2, I'm going to say 2 of the games that you played, those were exhibitions. So
Absolutely.
I actually won the series.
Absolutely.
And that's what the teams did. They couldn't agree on which ones counted.
Absolutely. Case in point, the second game of the season clearly states in newspaper coverage. Washington would not agree by any means to play a championship game today. Well, that case in the standings.
Yeah, exactly.
Today.
Yeah. It was. That's what makes it difficult figuring out which games counted and which games didn't. So,
Well, the ultimate demise of the Chicago Forest City Baseball Club was due largely to the Chicago fire in October 1871. A small town like Rockford couldn't lure any potential opponents without having a bigger city nearby.
well, I didn't think of course, I mean,
Teams would benefit much more from larger crowds at Chicago, making a smaller gate at Rockford more tolerable. The New York Clipper on October 21st, 1871. On Monday, October 16th, we received a letter from Captain Wood of the Lake Chicago Club in which he desires us to officially state that in consequence of the Chicago Club grounds being totally destroyed and the club entirely bankrupt, all players now connected with the club and those engaged for 1872 are released from their engagements and free to seek service in other clubs. He says that he has not been able to write to each to this effect, but he will soon do so. In the meantime, he sends them word through the club that they may not lose the opportunity to engage with other clubs. Mr. Wood says, in his own words, so we are one and all now in the market. He also writes word that the White Stocking players have all except two been burnt out and have lost all they had, including savings in the banks, and that they have availed themselves of the offers of free passes to come east to play the concluding games of the championship matches. The captain of the White Stockings also adds, our only resort now is the generosity of the Eastern public in this our trying ordeal. The Rockford Gazette on November 16th printed the confirmation of the death of the Forest City. The Chicago Fire has rather put a quietus on baseball matters in the West. It is announced that the White Stocking Baseball Club of Chicago will not put in an appearance next year, and indeed most of its late members have already joined clubs in other cities. We learn that the project of a baseball club in Rockford for next season has also been abandoned, and that the probability is that we shall have no baseball club here next year. What will happen to the players? Fisher I covered. Anson went to Philadelphia for 1872. He had been approached mid-season for offers to come to Philadelphia, which he eventually did. He stayed there till 1876, till he went to Chicago. His first trip to Chicago, he quickly regretted making that choice. He had met a woman in Philadelphia and they got married. He tried to get out of his contract in 1876, and Spaulding and Hulbert said no, we will not let it happen. Well, Anson said, fine, I'll play this one out, and with the intention of going to Philadelphia for 1877. Well, the Philadelphia team folded at the end of 1876, and that's how Anson remained the Chicago White Stocking for a very long time. It was also George Bird's last season. There's a funny story to that. He had asked Hiram Waldo, what should I do? I need an offer on the table for the Philadelphia team. Waldo advised him to hold out, wait for more money. Well, another offer never came, and that pretty much closed the door on George Bird's major league career. Tony Sager never appeared in another major league game. Same Val Barker and Ralph Hamm with Gat Stiers. That leaves Scott Hastings. He split 1872 with Cleveland and Baltimore, bounced around for a while, played in the final season with Chicago in 1875's National Association existence. Denny Mack, 1872, Philadelphia, bounced around in and out of the majors, finished his career in 1883 in the American Association. Bob Addy sat out in 1872, tending the business in Rockford. He returned in 1873 with the Philadelphia White Stockings briefly. 2 months later, he caught on with Boston Powerhouse, which had the Wright brothers, Deacon White, Ross Barnes, Spaulding, Andy Leonard, and orator Jim O'Rourke at this time. There were later claims that he played a game for a Rockford team and was therefore ineligible, much like the Hastings situation. But that eventually smoothed over, and he finished that season with Boston. He bounced around from Hartford to Philadelphia. In 1876, he played the inaugural season in the National League with the White Stockings, reunited with Spaulding and Anson. Addy went west late in the 1870s. Reports were that he had become a Mormon with 12 wives. That's doubtful. He did open up a hardware store in Pocatello, Idaho, and Azrae died in 1910. Chick Fulmer, according to David Nunn's Amazing MLB Profiles, Volume 1, he was a witty extrovert in the sort that would entertain the crowd with impressions of famous pitchers' deliveries. An energetic spirit who was once said to be the fastest player in the game at getting into his uniform, and a man with his eye on various ways to make a dollar. He ran a cigar stand in the clubhouse while playing for Buffalo, and during off seasons in the early 1880s, managed touring theater companies playing the ubiquitous Gilded Age chestnut Uncle Tom's Cabin. Fulmer campaigned for the state legislature in 1880, later won election as a Philadelphia city magistrate. So that was the end of Rockford baseball. Now there were various incarnations of Rockford in the minor leagues up to 1923. They went away for a while. Of course, Rockford's best known for its entry in the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League, the Rockford Peaches, which ran from 1943 to 1954. Later on, there was a Rockford team in the Midwest League. Their last year there was 1999. Adam Dunn played for that team. Then they joined independent ball. On August 29th, there was a Rockford grand reopening of Bayer Stadium, which was home of the Peaches, and they debuted this monument to the Forest City Club in the 150th anniversary of its first season. You'll also see throughout Rockford, there's still mentions of Forest City throughout Rockford. There's an example right there. There's also Forest City Motor Lodge, Forest City Auto Motors dealership, and all of that. But for one season, Rockford was a major league city.
So, Chris, first, because you flew through them.